Welcome, I'm Louise and here's what happened this week. The remains of Taiwanese Indigenous warriors killed in the 19th century came home. They'd spent more than 100 years in Scotland.
A
traditional cleansing ceremony to mark the return of 4 warrior skulls, taken 150 years ago during a Japanese invasion of Taiwan. The warriors were from the Taiwan, one of Taiwan's largest indigenous groups, and it was an emotional homecoming for the community.
内心的感动真的突然变成打结了。
尤其看到有一颗是很年轻的头颅，其实对我们来讲都很锥心的痛。对，在那场战役有这么年轻的族人都要参与这个战役的部分，其实对我们来讲心里是非常的痛。
The skulls of the Taiwan's ancestors were taken by Japan in a conflict that had wider historical significance for Taiwan. In 1874, Japan invaded southern Taiwan in what it said was a mission to avenge the killings of dozens of shipwrecked sailors from present-day Okinawa by members of the Taiwan. But scholars say Japan used that as an excuse and a stepping stone for its eventual occupation and colonization of Taiwan. The skulls are thought to have been taken as war trophies, carried to Japan by a US Navy officer who was acting as a military advisor. Later, the skulls were taken to the US and finally given to the University of Edinburgh in Scotland in 1907, by which time Taiwan was a Japanese colony. Edinburgh has now given them back, saying it has been working to return items to representatives of the cultures from which they were taken. But the Taiwan community in Mudan Township did not initially welcome the idea of their returning ancestors.
因为认为他们并不是像一般人寿终正寝的，但是后来在祖灵的引导及沟通之下，确实他是为了部落去牺牲自己的性命，所以我们才会慎重的去迎接他们回来。
According to tradition, the skulls can't be seen in public until various rituals have taken place. For now, they will be kept in this museum, about a 3-hour drive from where the original battle took place, where they will undergo testing before being moved to a permanent resting place. And this time, it will be up to the indigenous community themselves to decide what happens to them. A Taiwan man has won the right to use just his Romanized indigenous name on his ID card. It's been hailed a big step for indigenous rights in Taiwan. Baidu Bayan of the Taiwan Indigenous group filed a suit against a law that requires indigenous people to include a name in Chinese characters on their ID card. This week, the court ruled in his favor. The judge said that forcing him to write his name in Chinese characters infringed on his culture and identity. Although the ruling only applies to this one case, it has been welcomed by other indigenous Taiwanese bringing similar cases to court.
我觉得最重要的事情是这个判决它直接引用了宪法的保障，认定说原住民的这个命名权跟怎么样去呈现名字这件事情应该是宪法保障的，就是平等。
Rising global temperatures are proving to be a challenge for Taiwan's many fruit farmers. But one hacker family is using age-old farming traditions to make the most of what they have. Sally Ensign has more.
The orange fruit, the peeling motion, the racks where they dry under the sun. Almost everything here is circle-shaped. This hacker family in Taiwan's northwestern Hsinchu County has used the same production line for drying persimmons for over 100 years.
看得到就是像我右手边这边是在削皮，对，那我们现在是都有机器可以帮忙了。那如果是以前的话是没有机器的话，都是要纯手工了。
Hakka people are an ethnic minority in Taiwan, making up around 20% of the population. Centuries of migration from southern China brought over their agricultural and preserving traditions and sweet persimmons. There are 3 kinds of persimmons here in Taiwan's Hakka heartland. This one's like a beef heart, this one more like a stone, and this one like an ink brush. And they're all being dried here on these racks. And this process relies heavily on sunshine and seasonal winds, which are growing less reliable due to the changing climate. Lychees, mangoes, guavas, all kinds of fruits in Taiwan are feeling the effects of longer summers and extreme weather, and persimmons are no exception.
那我们其实就是需要太阳之外，就是需要风把我们的水分带走，这样子才会干。对，那当然是以现在暖化的话，我们其实就少了风的话，我们其实就是成功率会降低啦。暖化对我们的这种传统做法的影响，就是制品变得比较不好制作。
But small-scale family-run initiatives like this are using time-tested methods to make the most of what they have. No part of the fruit goes to waste. The mountains of peeled skin are fermented and used as compost to nourish the persimmon trees.
它有很多药用啦，但一般人就会煮茶，我们是因为量很多，所以我们都是做肥料，当有机肥。
Even the copper stains from the peeling process have a use. They're used as a natural dye for textiles and to make beauty products.
就是它里面含了很丰富的单宁酸。那单宁酸的话，我们就是可以用来，像我手上这个，我们就是可以用来染布。对，这个就是我们的释染，然后就是这样子循环这样子。
But perhaps the biggest impact comes from the operation's public accessibility for education and tourism. These farmers hope to pass on their persimmon growing methods generation after generation. But in an age of unprecedented change, their larger goal is to promote the idea of circular regeneration. John Su and Sally Jensen in Hsinchu County for TaiwanPlus.
Now onto farming mixed with artificial intelligence. A university in Taiwan is using AI to help farmers cut back on their water use. Bryn Thomas has the story.
A tractor, a plow, and now a smartphone. Farmers in Taiwan may soon have a new tool in their sheds, an AI-empowered irrigation system. Researchers at Central Taiwan's National Chongqing University say they've developed a solution that could cut the amount of water used in rice farming by up to 20%. The system is like a facial recognition camera, but instead of faces, it looks at rice. Farmers just need to photograph their crops, and in a snap, the app draws on a database to do the rest.
我们只需要手机的 RGB 影像就能够反映出作物的生理，就有点像例如说中医的望闻问切，你在防范于未来。
Many farmers in Taiwan rely on their years of experience when growing rice. They consider the weather and the time of year, then smell the earth, touch the soil, or rub the leaves to tell if a plant needs watering. But it's a method that's become less reliable as the climate crisis worsens. Rising temperatures, drought, and extreme weather events mean farmers can no longer safely assume that one year will be much like the one before. And while farmers are reluctant to replace tradition with technology, the impact of climate change on their bottom line could inspire a change of heart.
对于那个农民在精准的判断里面，还有真的是省工对他们的效益之后得到的时候，事实上他们更愿意去使用这个系统。
Key people involved in the project say the benefits could be huge. They estimate the project could save over $5 million a year if adopted nationwide, and reduce annual carbon emissions by over 31,000 tons. James Lin and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
From AI farming to Taiwan in Bloom. An impressive range of flowers is on display at Taiwan's Flower Variety Promotion Fair. It's making a comeback after the floral industry took a major hit during the COVID pandemic. Rosie Greninger has the story.
Back in full bloom after weathering pandemic pains. There are over 1,500 types of flowers on display here at the Nangang Exhibition Centre, and they're every colour of the rainbow. Every year, new breeds are debuted here. Botanists are constantly developing and innovating to create special hybrids, like this flower that can stand high temperatures and grow in summer.
3、4月以后到整个7、8月都是有办法生产这样子一个青花特，然后再来就是我们这个品种是在夏天是不会褪色，像过去的品种老的品种，它基本上在夏天它的花青素的累积是没办法很完善的。
The exhibition is an important event for botanists, who use it to share information learned throughout the year. It's a tight-knit industry that took a major hit during the pandemic, as the cancellation of social activities meant there was no demand for flowers, causing prices to fall. But the Agriculture Ministry encouraged plant nurseries to build new relationships with supermarkets and e-commerce platforms to keep the industry from wilting.
其中主要就是跨域的推动我们花卉的消费。另外呢，居家用花是很重要的一个点。那这样子呢，民众可以更容易的取得，可以刺激消费。
Breeding flowers is not a cheap or easy task, but events like this provide a space for inspiration and exchange, so the floral industry can continue to blossom. Klein Wang and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
Mixed martial arts, or MMA, is getting more popular in Taiwan, and some athletes from the country are now competing in Japan. Reporter Santi Chi travelled to Tokyo to meet them.
Striking, clinching, and ground fighting. This is 32-year-old Zeni Huang training in Tokyo. She's getting ready to fight in Pancrase, one of Japan's legendary MMA promotional companies. And she's a long way from home. Zeni is a Taiwanese mixed martial artist who decided to move to Japan a year ago to pursue her love of the sport and compete at its highest levels.
台湾跟日本的综合格斗这个项目风气，本来就是差太多了，就应该说运动风气就已经差很多了，就是支持运动的程度跟参与运动的人程度本身就差很多。
Zeni is known as Taiwan's first professional female MMA fighter and was a leading contender in the country. But that wasn't enough for her.
日本又是大家公认，就是说综合格斗是很强的一个圈子，所以我有给自己目標，如果我能在日本拿下一些冠軍的話，但我代表說我的實力也非常的強。
日本に来てからジェニーはすごく強くなってます。より気持ちも強くなって。
Zeni began practicing MMA 8 years ago and trains 6 days a week. It's a lifestyle that's hard on the body and is filled with unexpected challenges. Zeni says her family does not support her MMA passion. And despite her accomplishments, they've never attended any of her matches. Zeni not only lacks family support, but also faces financial challenges. Full-time training comes with a lot of extra costs, and women's MMA doesn't pay well, if at all.
非常少见，就是到一个程度的时候呢，你的对手全都是最顶尖的。那最顶尖你要打败他们的话，你可能训练上要最好的状态，然后最认真的状态，体能也要最好的状态。那些东西都是必须要去，可能是要花钱去买啊，或是请最专业的教练啊，或是请专业的营养师去帮你规划。
However, the high costs did not stop Zeni from doing what she loves. Her never-give-up attitude serves her well in the sports.
技巧、经验还有精神，就是你那个不要放弃的意志力。你有些选手他被打了，然后晕了，但是他意志力很强，你会看到是在像電影一樣爬起來，然後之後又很拼命的拼搏，到最後反敗為勝。那個在 MMA 也很重要。
Zeni is in Japan with 32-year-old Duncan Hero, a heavyweight from Taiwan.
为了支持 Jenny，然后和她一起在格斗的职业路上互相成长。日本的 MMA 产业发展的非常有，他们已经产生一个属于他们自己的文化，然后还有已经有一定的规模。
Duncan is inspired by what he's seen in Japan and hopes Taiwan can develop a similar culture.
第一个就是需要钱跟资源，那第二个就是要培养这个产业的文化。
But for now, Taiwanese people who want to compete at the highest levels still need to go abroad. That's why Zeni is competing in Pancrase, 2,300 kilometers from home, hoping to be the first Taiwanese woman to take the championship title. Kama Xu and Zeni Chi for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching. Here's what happened. To play us out, alpacas in Hsinchu in western Taiwan. They generally live in high altitudes, but are also at home grazing in Taiwan's tropical climate. I'm Louise Watt. Take care. We'll see you next week.